right, mates? Here is one very interesting, I'd even say appealing representative of the budget phones segment, even the upper budget segment, if that class exists. And this phone offers what most of the budget phones don't have. This one has a dedicated 3x periscope camera, so it allows you to zoom in your photos not only for 3x optical zoom but also up to 120x zoom, which is, to my view, it's pure nonsense, it's a gimmick. But let's dive into review and see if it lives up to what's written on paper. So firstly, design and in-hand feel of this phone. And when I took this phone in my hand for the first time and for the second time, and every time I take it in my hand, it feels light, therefore budget for me. And yeah, that sounds crazy, but I'm very used to those huge and very extremely heavy phones like this. This Pixel XL model is very heavy, and this one is very light, I'd say, even too light for the claimed 6000 mAh battery, but I trust in battery capacity because it holds the charge for so long. But back to design, the only thing I can nitpick about, and that's my personal preference, is the curves all around. So the screen is rounded, curved all four sides, and this thing I dislike because it makes the phone feel a little bit smaller than it is, because it's a huge phone, 6.83 inches diagonally, and but it feels a bit smaller. But I'm a fan of the biggest possible screens on the phones, and that's my personal nitpick. But overall, it feels light and budget, even though, make no mistake, it has all the possible IP resistant rates possible for a phone. IP69 means it's water, dust and drop resistant, so it's kind of rugged phone. I won't test it, I won't drop it, and I have very slight doubts, but I have them that with this plastic bag it can get damaged being dropped on the ground. But as for water resistant, I don't have any doubts that it can be submerged in water. So it's very good for a budget phone to be resistant and strong like this. So design is okay, right? Let's have a quick walk through the specs of this Realme 14 Pro Plus. This Plus stands for the dedicated telephoto lens compared to non-Plus model. The heart of this phone is the upper mid-range processor Snapdragon 7S Gen 3, so it's the latest and the most powerful, but yet mid-range processor. You see that there is no that modern Cortex-X core, only Cortex-A720, quite powerful, but it's still a mid-ranger because, for example, I haven't managed to reach 120 FPS in quite popular games, even old games like Asphalt 9, Call of Duty, which I play usually. I'll show you shortly. So I reached only 60 stable FPS in those games. Therefore it's still a mid-range processor. The system is currently Android 15. Android 16 is somewhere on its way, probably in winter. The screen is firstly it's huge, 6.83 inches diagonally. The resolution, I believe it's called somewhat 1.5K, so a little bit higher resolution than Full HD. But what's good in this screen is firstly the brightness is quite enough to see everything clearly outdoors. The modes, the frequency modes, starts from 60 and what's good, it has this mid 90 Hz level and reaching up to 120. Of course, no LTPO technology here, but by all means, for a budget phone, it's a great screen. The memory is LPDDR4X. My mouth just wanted to say 5X, but no. Even though the processor itself, the 7S Gen 3, can support up to LPDDR5 memory. The internal storage is of UFS 2.2, so not the fastest, but it's absolutely fine for $300 or euros phone. There are 3 cameras on the back, 50 plus 50 telephoto, not some crap lens, but 50 telephoto plus 8 quite mediocre ultra wide. And the sensors are, you see, Sony IMX882, that's the telephoto tele. The main is IMX8896, so quite powerful. And the front camera is 32 megapixels, so cameras are quite good, but only partly. I'll again show you later the camera capabilities, but again, cameras, even though being on paper quite powerful, the results vary quite a lot from photo to video, but that's a spoiler. The battery is huge, 6000 mAh, but like I said, for me the phone feels too light for such huge battery. But you see that it's been in standby mode for eight days and it still has half of the tank in the battery, so it's truly one of the largest and most efficient batteries. And the processor, of course. What else? Sensors. All need the sensors for playing 3D games. And Wi-Fi version 6, quite good. The latest is Wi-Fi 7, but that's preserved for flagships. So at the spec sheet, the phone is much more than just good for a budget. It's great. It's hugely powerful for a budget phone. Now the system, and to my personal view, it's where its budget and very much Chinese origin kicks in, because starting with the interface, this very punchy and quite childish color language, these icons with the shapes and with these like painted by children, by child icons, shapes and signs of the icon symbols. You see that settings icon looks absolutely ridiculous, and the theme store is full of the themes looking very much like each other. There is not much difference. Those punchy colors, those either flowers or like landscapes, you see, they're very much like each other. You can't really differentiate much one theme from another. So I've seen that before. I saw such color language, such icon shape, yet 10 or more years ago from earliest even MIUI versions from Xiaomi, and it hasn't changed much. After 10 years of development, it's still all the same childish and very animated and again very immature interface. But let's let's be fair. Let's give some credits to Realme OS. It's just stuffed. It's very much full of all the functions you need, even the mandatory nowadays AI functions, even being absolutely useless. For example, this AI screen recognition, not only does it support only a few applications, including some absolutely useless like TikTok, but what it does essentially is absolutely the same. It only supports YouTube. It does absolutely the same what Google's Circle to Search does, and you can recognize what's on your screen again only in YouTube and then share it to Google Lens, to photos or somewhere else, including the text. But you see that all the same functionality is absolutely present in Circle to Search, which is here by default. And I see it's only a way of manufacturers to present some AI tools by themselves. For example, like this own Translate app, which does exactly the same what the Google Translate does. You see this conversation view. I tried to get a conversation between German and English. I got very basic, very basic and elementary knowledge of German, but the Chinese language somehow popped up here between German and English. I don't get how it got there, but it's here. You see the German and English, and let's try it. Hallo, ich heiße Max, ich lebe in Deutschland mit meiner Familie. Yeah, it could work, but the Google Translate does it much better with no intrusion of Chinese language, Chinese hieroglyphs. So the system needs, of course, certainly needs some refinement and moving towards some maturity, maybe getting rid of some redundant functions or overlapping functions, because very much of those functions are already present in the default Google applications. So the system is, again, quite a budget. Oh, I almost forgot. Apart from those two absolutely marvelous system features available by default, the first one being Circle to Search, it's here by default, and the second, again, default feature is digital assistant being Gemini. Thank you, Gemini. The other absolutely great feature available again by default, unlike on most or maybe on all of the Xiaomi budget and even some mid-range phones from Xiaomi, it's the always on display. So what's the difference between this phone and Xiaomi phones is that here the always on display can be here on your lock screen all day long, all day, scheduled, and just like all the Xiaomi mid-range budget and mid-range phones have, it could be here on the lock screen only for 10 seconds, but here we've got all the options for always on, and that's great. And that sets this phone much higher than its Xiaomi and probably some other rivals. So we've got this fully functional AOD, and that's absolutely amazing. Now, the performance, which for me is measured by and translates into gaming experience, in particular how smoothly and at which FPS rate the games run on a device, and this Asphalt 9, even though being far not the most demanding games out there, but this game runs stable and smooth 120 FPS on any Snapdragon 8 Gen chip, even the older Snapdragon 8 chips, but here we're only able of 60 FPS at max. But what fascinates me in this gaming assistant on Realme devices is the system status option. You can turn it on and you'll have the real-time FPS meter or indicator up here, and let's see what if we got even 60 FPS running smoothly and stably. And spoiler alert, it runs at higher 50s during the gameplay, which firstly speaks highly of the chip efficiency and capabilities, but on the other hand, secondly, it clearly states that this is not a flagship chip. Absolutely, 60 FPS is not a great frame rate for modern phones. Yeah, you see, we've got stable higher 50s FPS during the gameplay. We don't need it anymore. So in terms of performance, which again for me is gaming experience, this is a very good Call of Duty I've got here, but it will load for eternity, but it can only run at highest 90 FPS, not higher than that. So performance is very good, very stable. By the way, it's important to have it stable, and you've seen it, it's stable, but it's clearly mid-ranger. Okay, I got to launch the Call of Duty mobile, and here we go. Absolutely stable and smooth 90 FPS. So this phone is really capable. Not 120 FPS in any game, I guess. Not in Asphalt. Only 60 there. But here in Call of Duty we've got pretty stable 90. Does it drop even to 80? No, I don't see that. So the phone is very good for most of the optimized games. Now comes the most exciting part of the review, and of course that's the cameras, as this phone, unlike most of the budget and even some mid-range phones, offers what they don't possess. This phone generously offers the Sony IMX882 dedicated telephoto lens, and that's a well-known telephoto sensor used in some much more pricier phones like Vivo X200, a well-known camera phone, and on the Realme own flagship. So the same 8800 is used as telephoto lens on the Realme GT7 Pro phone, the most advanced phone from Realme. So that's a very generous offer. And what does it give us? It gives absolutely amazing, fantastic photos with 3x optical. That's an optical zoom. Again, very great, even flagship range for optical zoom, and up to 6 times lossless zoom. It technically can zoom up to 120, but you can guess it's the gimmick. Everything beyond 6x is absolutely artificial, noisy, so not worth it. So the photos are absolutely marvelous. What about the videos? The videos are kept at 4K 30 FPS, and that's only due to the chip limitations, because both the main and telephoto sensor can technically record up to 8K even. Yeah, here is a clear proof that the main sensor can record up to 8K, but it's not here because of the mid-range chip under the hood. So videos, I didn't quite like them, I'll be absolutely honest. Even at 4K 30, no, I didn't like them. Maybe there is some magic happening in the post-processing. I'll show you photos and videos examples shortly, but let's do some research what this phone can do else. And this phone can do the dual camera video again at 4K resolution, 4K 30. You see, up to 6x lossless zoom. So that's a great feature to have for vloggers. You can't go lower than 1x, you can't go ultra wide at 4K, because ultra wide is a tiny at 8 megapixel sensor, so it's not capable of 4K, but the main sensor is absolutely capable. You can record dual view, you can vlog everything you want. But again, there is one more stunning feature: the underwater video recording. Let's continue. You can dive and record video or take photos using the hardware, the volume buttons, and that's again stunning thing for a budget phone, to be able to shoot videos and photos underwater. You need to hold the power button to exit the underwater mode, and you see the removing water feature launches it by default. You don't need to do anything. So that's a very well thought through camera system. But again, I didn't like videos much. So let's get to the examples. Here is again a 4K video. That's 1x, and I really like the 1x quality. 3x, which is supposed to be 3x optical zoom, it's okay. The quality starts to degrade even though there is a dedicated telephoto lens. And 6x, no, it's rubbish. I need to apologize here to Realme, because here is 10x photo and most of them look great, but 20x no good. 4K video. I really like the 1x, quality 2x, also quite good given the shitty weather, and that's 3x which should be a telephoto lens, but I don't see the good quality. 6x, oh gosh, bad. 4K 30 selfie video, really great. I'd even say it's not worse than the main camera, and I can go 0.8x, so the front camera performs just amazing. So to wrap it up, on one hand you can clearly say it's not a flagship because it doesn't have any premium materials. It has some unpolishedness and immaturity in the system with this funny interface being from like 10 years ago, with some system features like AI toolkit being here just for the sake of saying, whoa, we've got our own AI toolkit, but in reality giving you very little value. But on the flip side, not only does it possess some absolutely great for its price hardware features, like having the full IP69 protection and possessing a dedicated and quite capable telephoto lens, but also it has some absolutely amazing software features like the inbuilt, the default so-called search being enabled in the system, and the default Gemini assistant, which are already must-have in nowadays. But also what impressed me most, not only the hardware but the camera software is quite well defined and developed, starting with this dual view, giving you 4K video on both cameras, front and back, at the same time, and even some underwater filming abilities. That's a absolutely fantastic feature to have. So overall, for its price, I'd say it stands even higher than its price range, and it definitely deserves to be put on the wish list of everyone who would like the most value for the least money. So that's your phone. It will provide you the most value for the least money. So was very nice seeing you all. I'm really amazed with this phone. Drop your comments in the comment section, please. See you soon. Cheers.